Welcome, listeners and readers, to yet another episode of Between the Pages with Divya. And today we have with us author Smita Das Jain, and we are talking about her latest book, Till Fate Do Us Apart. And just to introduce her, I would like to talk a few words about her here. So, she is a writer by passion and an author of four published books. She writes every day, and you can see her, samples of writing at her home, office. She has a sunny terrace garden. You can always see her writings in her husband's car as well, and kitchen napkins. So that is a very innovative way of going about writing, Smita, I would say. And to move further, her debut short story collection, A Slice of Life, was named among India's top three fiction works by Right Fluence. And her debut novel, A Price to Love, found a mention in the top 50 books of 2022 by Delhi Wire. Moving on, her short story collection, Twisted Tales and Turns, was published in 2023, followed by the publication of her second novel, Till Fate Do Us Part, in 2024. So she is also the only Asian to be mentioned in the top 20 flash fiction winners list in spring 2022 contest of the prestigious US based Women on Writing, also named as WOW magazine for women writers, and is also the winner of the prestigious Bharat Award for Literature 2023 for her short story, Purchased Love. So she has many awards to her credits, and her writings can be found in many anthologies, including, in national and international anthologies, including the Muse India, Kitab, Auroras and Blossoms, Women's Web, Right Fluence, Word Weavers, Twist and Twain, and Unleash Press. She is also a certified creative writing specialist from Stanford University and Henry Haven Education. Smita was also a finalist for the Women's Web Orange Flower Awards 2022 and 2023, and the Inspire Beyond Motherhood Awards 2023 for her writing. She has also appeared in national TV channels like CNBC Awaz, Zee Business, The Daily Pioneer, The Daily Guardian. Those are a bit of print media publications. The Hindustan Times and Authority magazine for her work and books. Now, going outside the world of books, she is also an executive coach and personal empowerment life coach who helps people get better at what they do. And she is also two-time TEDx speaker. Wow, that's very, what do you say, inspiring, Smita, I would say. Two-time TEDx speaker, a keynote speaker at prestigious corporate conferences, and a guest columnist on personal development matters for leading magazines and platforms. And the most important part, if you want to meet her, you would have to meet her at Gurgaon, Gurugram, which is now in the Delhi NCR region. And she lives with her amazing husband and an adorable 14-year-old daughter. So that's quite an introduction, I believe. And I think that's the longest introduction I have given till date, Smita. And you are so, so talented. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Divya, for having me here. I'm so glad to be here today to discuss my book, Till Fate Do Us Part. This is the latest one that came out last month and is very close to my heart. So, thank you for having me here with you.
Great. We are as much, honored to have you here with us today. Right. So, Smita, since this is your latest book, and the title itself is self-explanatory, and we can say that from the title of the book that it is all about destiny. So, I would like to ask you what inspired you, or was there any moment which you know which actually influenced you to write uh, such a novel based on fate and destiny?
So, Divya, till fate do us part, it's a product of experiences, imagination, and observations. No matter how much we try to control our life, and being a coach, I absolutely believe that you can control your life, you can take charge. But it's an undeniable factor that there is a powerful force beyond you, our view. Call it God, call it fate, call it destiny, that does shape our lives. What inspired me actually, there I am a spontaneous writer, so there are a lot of influences on me at a given point in time. But if I were to go back in the past and pinpoint one particular instance, so I was traveling somewhere, and the people who were sitting behind me in that flight, they were talking about their impending wedding. And then suddenly, like when the flight landed and it door stopped, so there were some other people climbing, and when the flight landed, the to be bride got a call, and someone in the family had unfortunately died. And so all the plans went for a toss. From a happy moment discussing their impending wedding, suddenly it became, a completely different moment altogether. And that is what that incident, I mean, as a writer, you get very different influences at a point in time. That incident left a mark on me, and that made me believe that no matter how much you plan, how much you try to get things in control, the fact is there is some other force that can bring people together, push them apart, change their plans, well laid out plans, or lead them down paths they never intended to walk. So, all said and done, life is unpredictable. So, till fate do us part in that respect is a nod to the unpredictability of life, where I'm trying to say that no matter how much we try to control our destiny, there are times when we are at the mercy of destiny's whims. So, as I mentioned, that particular incident that happened many years ago, and at that time it just stayed. And then, when I was thinking of a concept and all, somewhere that incident played, and I realized that, no matter what we do, life happens to you when you are busy making other plans. And from that thought, different characters were born. So all the characters in this novel, be it Vedika, be it Gaurang, be it Rohan, they are confronted by circumstances that seem beyond their control, like Vedika's daughter's conditions, Gaurang's feelings for Vedika's, and then Rohan's unexpected return. All of the events in the book question how much of our lives is dictated by faith and how much is influenced by the choices we make. So that's the thing. When we think about, so till fate do us part, the title is a spin-off about till death do us part. And when we think of that phrase, the original phrase, it immediately conjures the image of eternal love, a promise that we make to each other in matrimony. But in this story, I have explored the idea that sometimes it's not health or mortality, but destiny that intervenes in our lives and relationships in ways that we can never predict.
True, absolutely. How much ever we plan, it's we might go, it happens in our daily lives, like a daily routine which we follow. Sometimes it just doesn't fit in well, right? We follow a certain routine on a daily basis, and sometimes something comes up, and even a 2-minute thing which distracts you, you know gets you late, maybe to office, or maybe to an emergency or whatever. So yes, plans is, I mean, as you said, yes, life is unpredictable, and how much ever we plan, what will happen will happen. So
Yes.
moving on, uh, I feel in the book, the introduction of Rohan complicates the whole dynamics of the story itself. So, how did you balance the romantic tensions between Vedika, Gaurang, and Rohan?
So, Divya, Rohan's presence is right there from the outset. Like the first scene of the book is when Gaurang gets introduced, and the second scene is about Vedika, and Rohan is right there with her. There's a layer of complexity with Rohan that intensifies Vedika's emotional turmoil. Now, Rohan for Vedika represents the past, someone she loved deeply, and also the present. So what happens is like Rohan and Vedika are about to get divorced, but then they have a daughter, the 5-year-old Samiksha, who they are co-parenting. So while Rohan represents the past, he is also very much a part of the present. And the fact that she is now estranged from him cannot deny from the fact that he is still her daughter's father. And I wanted to create a contrast between Gaurang, who represents empathy and a potential future for Vedika, and Rohan, who brings back unresolved emotions from Vedika's past and is an integral part of the present because of their daughter. Balancing this triangle was all about ensuring each relationship had its own distinct flavor. So for with Gaurang, there's a tenderness born out of their shared trials with her daughter, the medical situation that happens. With Rohan, it's a bonding that stems from the nostalgia of what they once had. It's this triangle. So what's a love story without a triangle? Most of the love story we admire, there is always some bit of triangle, a love triangle there. So the emotional tension in Till Fate Do Us Part comes from Vedika being torn between two very different men, and her eventual the final choice, the eventual choice reflects how complicated love can be when life throws unpredictable challenges our way.
True. I think very much resonates with our last question, where we say that yes, life is unpredictable, and people come and go from our lives. We lose people, but there are people whom we stay in touch with and whom we do not as well. So, but I would like to know, in all of this, uh, since we have talked about the triangle right now, how did you develop the initial connection of Dr. Gurang and Vedika, and what kind of challenges did you face in putting their relationship on that map, given their professional roles as well?
So the connection between Gaurang and Vedika was built keeping in mind the setting around shared experiences. So the medical setting, the hospital where Vedika first meets Gaurang for the treatment of her daughter, the condition that she has. Now, both Gaurang and Vedika are successful professionals who are passionate about their careers, but they also face immense personal struggles, and it is these personal struggles that brings them together. I've wanted to portray their relationship as one of both admiration and understanding. Gaurang is compassionate yet professional, while Vedika is strong but vulnerable due to the challenges with her daughter's condition. Now, you asked me about the challenges. The biggest challenge in their relationship is balancing the personal feelings with their professional roles. Now, as a doctor, Gaurang has a duty to treat Vedika's daughter. But his growing affection for Vedika does complicate that. When you mix emotion with logic, there are certain things that does get affected, maybe unconsciously, and that's what happens here. On the other hand, Vedika is torn between her emotional dependence on Gaurang and her need to remain composed and focused as a mother. Plus, there is also her responsibilities as a wife. So Rohan and Vedika are undertaking the separation proceedings, but she's yet not separated. And that's what leads to this conundrum. So, this balance, or rather imbalance, is what fuels the tension and development of the relationship throughout the story. And as a writer, I wanted to do justice to the emotions that happens when logical people get entangled in emotional turmoils. So that was my endeavor when I was chalking out those characters in the book.
Great, but yeah, I should say it's character development is, I think, one of the most difficult part of writing a story, is what I feel. And sometimes you don't know what to do with them. So yes, it's a challenge all through how to develop them, how to fit them into the plot, and how to engage if there are two or three people. So I believe it would have been a great challenge for you. uh Moving on, Vedika's daughter's medical condition is, if you can say, the most important element of the story, and that is how she gets to meet Gaurang. So, how did you research about this emotional and practical challenges, which generally families face with such situations? And obviously, to portray it in between a love story is a difficult task. So, how was your research on this?
So there are two conditions here. One is like a pervasive permanent condition that Samiksha Vedika's daughter has, which is she's on the autism spectrum disorder. Now, that affects everything because the child is non-verbal, so she cannot really express her pain and she cannot really uh, eloquent that how is she feeling when a simple thing such as an injection is given to her. So that does make a lot of difference. Now, with this particular condition, I didn't had to do any research because I would say I would like to use the word blessed. I am myself blessed with a child who suffers from this particular condition, autism spectrum disorder. So I have been living as a caretaker of such a child. I have been living this condition for the past 12 years, and with that sort of experience, you know everything inside out. You don't need to do research. So everything around that condition is more about experiences, my experiences with my daughter, that I brought to this book. Now, with regards to the temporary medical condition, Genu Valgam, which is knock knees, which is the reason that Vedika meets Gaurang. Now, here also, I am a bit familiar with the condition because, when you have a young child, you do visit hospitals for various reasons at different points in time, and you do meet other people who suffer from all sort of medical conditions. So I was a bit familiar. Now, when I decided to bring that, or rather, when I was writing, very spontaneously, it came that this condition came automatically when I was penning the characters. Then I spoke to two, three orthopedic doctors. Again, there was like, at a personal level, there was no doctor in my circle. So it actually meant during the hospital visits and all, talking to someone, requesting for that extra time, getting that information. And then via then, I went to some medical journals and medical literature to know more about this condition. Like the genesis and all, I was able to figure out, like, after talking with the doctors, that what leads to this, what are the possible solutions, and if a child is not expressive, what can be done in such a situation. But to know, like, the sequence of tests and is the condition really curable, what are the sort of tests that are required, I really, because I wanted the emotional and practical challenges arising out of such conditions to feel authentic. I poured through a lot of medical journals and those magazines, which gave me a much more deeper insight into this situation. Now, with regards to how families will feel, what they would be undertaking through during such a situation, as someone who is a parent to a daughter, as someone who has a lot of friends who are mothers and even fathers of children of a similar age, there is a lot of shared experiences, there is a lot of observations. So every time you visit a hospital, you will meet other parents. Every time you go to your daughter's school, you will meet other parents. And life is full of challenges. Everyone is going through their own battles and fights. So
True.
it's simply, as a writer, I bring all those memories to the fore and try to put myself in those shoes. I would say 70% of that was easy, being a mother myself and with a child who has some of these conditions. Writing these parts, of course, was emotionally very taxing, but it was important for me to bring these challenges to life so readers can better understand and empathize with what families in similar situations endure. So I would say that with regards to the medical part, while a lot of it was research, especially with regards to the orthopedic condition, the other things were more a product of personal experiences as well as shared experience with other parents who find themselves in the same boat.
That's really great. We mentioned, you know, I mean, that happens when you write, you always relate to something which is very close to you or which has happened with you and maybe put it in a certain way. Or maybe you have had the experience or you have seen something which has impacted you. So, yes, I think these small moments are. Important, and they actually enhance the writing which you do, uh, or you bring in, when you bring in such characters and such incidents, I think people relate to you in a better way because they are going through the same thing. So yes, I think the
Yeah, they
relatability.
do.
Yeah.
They do,
So
Divya. As I always say, fiction has its genesis in reality. So
yeah.
ultimately, the story is fiction, but a writer has to draw inspirations from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be what you read, sometimes it can be what you saw. So, and that is what brings that authentic flavor in the writing. It can't be all imagination.
True. True that. Totally agree. So till fate do us part seems also to emphasize a lot on human connection. So, uh, can you elaborate on the characters which you have portrayed here, their relationships, how their relationships actually helped them heal and grow?
So you are absolutely right, Divya, in saying that till fate do us part is about human connections. It's about how we navigate life's toughest challenges. It is always through the relationships. Okay, we can be great in our careers and we may be doing what we are meant to do and what we are happy doing. But ultimately, if there is no one to share the bond with, life does become difficult. So it's those connections that helps us to endure life's toughest challenges. Now in this book, each character helps another to grow in some way. Like Vedika's connection with Gaurang gives her hope and a sense of comfort when she is feeling lost. So that was a period when she was vulnerable. Her daughter is going through a condition. She had to be operated. Her husband is not there. So she is alone. And in Gorang, she finds someone who is empathetic and gives her a sense of stability in that troubled time. Similarly, for Gorang, who is so focused on his duties as a doctor, when he meets Vedika, he learns to be vulnerable and open up emotionally about his own personal battles that he's fighting from the past because of the incident that happened with between him and his wife. So this opening up to someone also helps a person to heal and grow. Even Rohan, for that matter, despite his complicated history and the present circumstances with Vedika, he also plays a crucial role in helping her heal, because at the towards the end, when something happens which was completely unexpected, it is he who comes to stand by her side. And that is when they realize that all said and done, even though the past was bitter, it was also full of some happy moments, some emotional moments. So the relationships in Till Fate Do Us Part aren't perfect, but that's what makes them real. I wanted readers to see how human connection, whether romantic, platonic, or familial, they can be a source of strength, comfort, and growth, even in the most difficult of circumstances.
Truly, I think it is certainly a very emotional read, is what I feel. Um, because yes, whenever you talk about relationships, whenever you talk about love, you talk about loss, obviously there is a lot of emotional connect which goes to the book. I would like to ask you, because you said that you did research, though you had someone by your side uh, for that. I mean, in the sense that you didn't have to research some major part because you are already into it. But the other part of the research which you did, um on the medical condition. So, was there anything new which came out of it, and uh, and you already mentioned that yes, when you write about a medical condition, obviously it drains you emotionally. But apart from that, were there any other challenges which you faced after researching, or maybe during the research part, or I can say, if you researched something, were you enlightened by something which you were not aware of?
So, for the orthopedic condition, yes. When it's, see, one is, of course, because you have lived through some of the experiences. So, as a writer, you can be emotionally resonant when you are penning down fiction, because the condition is not something that is totally new to you. But at the same time, it's also the responsibility of the writer to be accurate. And this is medical fiction, so it was very important for me to be medically accurate. So that is why when I was pouring through these journals, when I was talking to doctors, my only endeavor was that I should not mention something that turns out to be factually incorrect. So when you get to come across data points, you come across information, you come across things that gives you the, once you start connecting the dots, it gives you the confidence that yes, what you are doing, you are on the right path. You are not doing something that is medically inaccurate. I use the term medically because ultimately the book is medical fiction. When it you asked about enlightenment, that enlightenment doesn't come because of, okay, there was no fact that was okay, something radically different from what I thought when I started researching. But what made it interesting for me that the statistics around the prevalence of this condition. So while you are meeting one such person who has this condition and you think it's something rare, when you pour through the
Mhm.
statistics you realize the prevalence is actually much higher than you think. And then you are grateful that okay, such as while life may have many challenges, at a personal level you didn't have to undergo the same challenges. And when you look at the prevalence, you're like, oh my God, there are so many families suffering from that. What would they be thinking? This book, apart from other things, of course, there is a central theme which has the role of faith and the romance in it. It's also about, there are a lot of other themes that are there on the side, like being caregiver of a special needs child, uh, the empathetic side of medical care, which is like, that's the recurring theme throughout the book that I've tried to show through Dr. Goran. And it is when you come across these statistics that you realize that okay, there's an apathetic side of healthcare, there's an empathetic side of medical care, and your experience, your outlook is influenced a lot by what side do you encounter. So in these last few years I have personally seen both these sides of medical care. And despite challenges, when the medical personnel in front of you is empathetic, as a parent, even as a person who may be suffering from ailment, that gives you a lot of courage. Now, apart from being emotionally taxing, I think the biggest challenge while I was writing this book was striking a balance between being informative and not overwhelming the reader with medical jargon. So there is this autism spectrum disorder, and then there's this genu valgum. Readers, as a writer, when you go too much into technicalities, by technicalities I mean the medical terms here, there is always a risk that you are giving so much of medical facts that you may overwhelm the reader, and in that process the story somewhere may get lost. So throughout, not when I was writing the first draft, but after the first draft was over, once I was refining it, I wanted to make sure that the medical side does not overshadow the human side of the story, because ultimately I wanted to use medical information to deepen the emotional stakes and make the characters more relatable. And I was like, absolutely, I took extra care to make sure that the readers don't feel overwhelmed with the way the medical information is given, or because of too much of medical information overload. And I think with the feedback that I am getting on this book from the readers, I do think that the validation, everyone is saying the characters feel so authentic, so real, and the story is striking a chord. So I think with the challenges, this is the reward also, that the characters, the story, it is resonating with the readers.
Yeah, true that. And yes, as you said, like a lot of information and a lot of technicalities just they can put off the readers because they are not aware of such things, though we would have experienced it or we would have researched it. And generally, what I mean, we tend to feel when we research that we should put everything out there, like whatever we have researched, because that is what we have got as knowledge. But sometimes yes, we do have to restrict ourselves of not getting overboard. Well, we would move on to a quick rapid fire round, Smita, here. So I would just like to ask you a few questions, and this has to be a bit rapid. I want you to answer in one word, or same, no more than three words or something like that. Right. So most unexpected thing that happened during the writing process. Well, you can still use sentences. I will not refrain you from doing that. So the most unexpected thing that happened during the writing process.
Tears coming from my eyes. As a writer, I write every day a lot of stories, but this was like something new. So some of the writing part was cathartic,
Favorite scene to write.
where Gaurang and Vedika confess their feelings for each other.
Okay. And least favorite scene to write.
the last operation part when something untoward happens and the child's life is endangered. So that is something at a personal level I didn't like writing, but as a writer I had to write that.
right? And um, who, if at all you have to make this a movie adaptation, who would you cast in that movie?
That's a tough one. So, okay, Vedika, Deepika Padukone, Gaurang, I would say Hrithik Roshan, and for Rohan, I actually can't imagine anyone in Rohan's part since it's a rapid fire. I think I like to park it, yeah. But I think in the doctor's character and in Vedika's character, I think it will be these two actors.
All right. And what's your favorite genre to read?
I have two. One is romance, the second is thrillers.
And if you could have dinner with any one of your fictional character, who would it be?
Oh, from this book or from any book?
Okay, you can say it from any book. That's fine.
Okay. So this book, I'm very sure I would want to have a dinner with Dr. Gorang if such a character ever
Yeah,
exists.
yeah. I think so. I would also go for it. Yes. And if at all any other character, fictional character which you want to go for a date,
Oh,
maybe
Hercule
not dinner
Poirot.
date. Sorry?
Hercule Poirot from Agatha Christie's.
Great, great, great. That was wonderful. One last question before you go. So, the title suggests it's all about the fate's intervention. So, how did you explore the interplay between destiny and how the individuals make choice?
So,
Destiny
see,
and
as I,
choice, basically. How does it work?
yes. Huh. See, as I mentioned before, everyone has agency, but there is a higher force that is operating. Okay, life is unpredictable. So, in the book, also, while all the characters, all the three central characters have agency, and they do make decisions that define their emotional journeys, destiny intervenes in ways they can't anticipate. So, while the book leads towards a certain situation, by the end the paths between two key characters diverge, and that's not necessarily because of the choices they make, but because of the weight of circumstances they could not change. I would say the novel emphasizes that despite our best efforts to steer our life in certain directions, faith has its own plans. So, for those readers who have read this book, for those who are yet to read this book, I want to have the readers to have this understanding that while our decisions shape who we are, there are elements of life like love, loss, timing that are often beyond our control. So, embracing the unpredictability of life and learning to find peace in what's meant to be is a central message of the book. It's a bittersweet truth, but one I hope relatable and thought provoking.
Great. Thank you so much, Smita, for joining us today here at Between the Pages with Divya. And it was a pleasure having you, and I hope to read this book soon and review it too. Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a
Divya.
good day.
Thank you for having me here. Well, have a great evening ahead.
Thank you, you too. Bye bye.